Good morning, Sir Maarten. What's up? What's cooking? Let's have a chat. The last one for now with MP Camper. Saturday now, Parliament will be changing, and I was not elected, so I will not be returning to Parliament. Well, not for now, for sure. And as such, I want to thank you all for at least allowing me into your ear, let me put it so, for the past 2 years. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. My podcast will not stop, but it will not be a chat with MP Camper. It will be a chat with former MP Camper. That's the only little adjustment we will make, but to say I'm going to stop giving information to the public of St. Maarten because I didn't win my seat again is ludicrosy. Country needs as much information as it can truly get because we are in a spiral, in a downwards spiral when it comes to understanding how a country should run and understanding that information has to be given in the right manner. And having said that, I want to slide in a minute into a very dangerous incident that we had over the weekend. The kidnapping of a young lady by two male perpetrators and seemingly a female too. And I'm not going to get into the crime because I don't have no information or very little information about such, even though there was a interview with the victim on, I believe it was BB Shaw, did something, and the lady gave her story. My concern was one of the statements that were made. And that was, very simply put, there were numerous incidents where the police was called. And when the police was called, the victim told them, my boyfriend then, ex-boyfriend now, is illegal on this island. And their answer was, that's not our concern. We are not immigration. Now, look, justice is justice. You can't start separating justice on convenience or because you were told so by whomever is in charge. This young lady could have lost her life over the weekend because that was the plan, seemingly. If the cars were not on the beach and the boat was ready, that young lady was in serious trouble. Now, what I'm saying I can't prove, but the people that are talking about it are people in the know. So you got to be careful when you tell a victim that comes to the police station or comes and files a complaint that go to immigration because immigration got to handle this. Justice is justice. When somebody commits a crime, you don't go and see if they're legal or illegal and then decide, okay, immigration, you are going to pick him up because then you bring him by us and then we go. No, a crime was committed. Police was called. Domestic violence is a crime. That's not an immigrational issue alone. It's a crime. If the perpetrator is illegal, then immigration deals with that person also. But you cannot just tell them, well, I can't handle this issue because it's an immigration issue. I don't want to go further than this with it because I don't have enough information to continue making any other statements than what I just made. Another statement or another something that caught my eye was this. St. Maarten truckers denounce hike in tariffs to deposit waste at the landfill. Now you see, if you don't read further than that, you swear to God it's the landfill here. But it starts off with Marigot. So it's the French landfill. That means if they're denouncing it and they still gotta dump it, then they're going to look for another place to dump it. And let me just tell the government from now, prepare yourself. This is not the first time that we have had this issue. When I was in public works, we had this issue quite often. And we even had police involved at the borders watching them. And they're smart enough to change number plates on the trucks. So they come over with a Dutch number plate. We got to be very careful. Our landfill is a disaster in the sense that It's not getting smaller. It's only growing. We are 6 years further, and all the NRPB has done was study, and the government just walking, and nothing has happened at the landfill, other than what the boys from Public Works and the ladies from Public Works have done on that landfill. No more, no less. Let us not fool ourselves. So I'm just giving you a heads up to watch out what's coming. The empty promises and lies have started to come home to roost right now. And I'll put it for you in not only a political sense or a campaign sense, but a reality for this country. You see, when you read the articles of the CFT, there were 2 articles. One of them was lambasting the government for their incompetency not to have budget 2024 ready. And I think it was a week later, because we were in election time, and a week later, naturally, you can't do that choppiness. So then they come out with another article. St. Maarten's government is mistaken. They don't have a surplus of 1 million. They got a surplus of 20 to 30 million. So the question that I would have asked myself as a voter, or even as a NA member, would have been, so why the hell are we campaigning on this? Why are we not campaigning that we made 20 to 30 million surplus in 2023? What's the problem? The problem is the truth. So you have a surplus of 20, 30 million. The question is, how did you get to that surplus? What did you not pay? What did you postpone payment on? What did you not invest into? Because these are the intricacies that need to be looked at. These are the lies that need to be uncovered. Now, I believe the minister might have tried genuinely to use that money to most probably pay what needed to be paid, or invest, give money to certain other ministers to make sure they can shine and hopefully win the election. But CFT wasn't going to play that game. CFT said, no, that is a surplus. That's not an investment to make now, 10 days before election or 30 days before election. You see, these are the type of things that are dangerous. So I hope when we see the transition document that must be ready by Saturday now, because the new parliament is sitting, and the new parliament has a right to see where they stand at this time in government. It's not only when the new ministers come, because that's part 2 yet of the whole process of governing, where the formateur has been appointed and the screening will start, and hopefully within 2-3 weeks screening will be done, and we don't have all kind of tra-la-la nonsense about who in the investigation and who. As long as you in charge them, you ain't got nothing. Let's be clear on this. This whole screening law is a hoax. It's not based on a reality. It's based on a feeling in the justice, who we gonna keep out and who we gonna allow in. We shouldn't do that. I think what we saw happen to Minister Omar Otley should not happen again. 1 year the man was denied to be a minister, to only then be told, okay, go ahead, we ain't got no more, sorry. Or Christopher Emmanuel, break down his door, go in there, search everything, and then the appellate court says, no, you all have no grounds to investigate this man. Move on. But because the formateur didn't stand the ground those days, he did not become a minister. You see, these are the type of things that we have to guard against. Because right now, let me put it as simple and as honest as I can. That governor's house is as biased as it can be. And I will discuss that and explain my position in the informateur's report as we go down just now. But I think it's important that we understand that CFT basically gave the government, the sitting government, a motion of no, incapable. You're incapable in 4 years to bring one budget on time. You have misplaced, misused, misappropriated, I don't know what to call it, 20 to 30 million guilders. Because there must be a surplus of such, and not a surplus of 1 million. And this is what happened. See, a lot of people in St. Maarten, we don't like to read, we like to hear things. We don't read things ourselves, you know, and the newspaper only prints what's sensational. So the daily sensation would normally not cover all these stories. But you have to look at the pre-approved 2023 budget, the amended budget. That's where this story went down. That's where it went from 23 million surplus to 1 million. Because 22 million had to be invested elsewhere, which the CFT says, I don't agree with. I don't agree with this. And because since 10-10-10, St. Maarten, and I'm going to stop using the word country, and I'm going to start using the word territory. The territory, St. Maarten, the autonomous so-called territory, must adhere to what the CFT says. So we have a group of 3 to 4 people will decide how our country will be run, where investments will be made. And I'm blaming this government for that. As surely as hell doing that. I'm blaming the 10-10-10 crew. They did it. They accepted it. It was one of the conditions to become autonomous. You're going to have to take the CFT because we don't trust you with your own money. You cannot do accounting, seemingly. 13 years later, we're in that same boat. We're in that same boat. So, will I blame this Minister of Finance for the CFT? Absolutely not. But he has facilitated them too often. And when you facilitate them, this is what you get. They refuse to meet with Parliament in an open meeting. They only want closed doors meeting to sit down and tell you what they think. And you can ask what you want, but they are telling you what they think. And as soon as that meeting is over, they go out and the discussion meant nothing because they put out their press release with what they told you inside there, irregardless if it is correct or not. You see, this is the problem. If this country wants to become financially independent and do certain things, that's why I admire Aruba. They stood their grounds and they told them, I don't care what you say. I am not slashing healthcare anymore, and I'm not going to slash the expenses on the employees because they can't make a living anymore. I am creating a poor class from the middle class that I have. That's what you're doing. That's what we're doing. And I'll give you an example. You remember when we slashed the 12.5%? St. Maarten at that point in time, contrary to others in the kingdom, didn't really adjust since 2012 the cost of living of the civil servants, which, when the cuts were made, was about 12.6%. So we had already given in 12.5% to civil servants. But that wasn't told to Van Hoffelen and Knops and none of them. We continued hammering in for another 12.5%. Because we were afraid to tell the Dutch, but these people have already made that sacrifice. If you tell me for the ministers and parliamentarians at 25%, I'll tell you yes, I agree. That should have happened, but not the civil servants. But it's to give you an understanding now on how things work when you're a coward. And we could run up on stage and call everybody cowards. But a coward is one that intentionally allows it to happen, just not to have to confront the other one. That's the unfortunate part in government by us in St. Maarten. But again, like I said, it would be nice to see where that money was allocated in the pre-approved 2023 amended budget. I'm saying pre-approved because CFT did not approve it. That's what their article was pushing at. They didn't approve the amended 2023 budget. And if they did, I would love government to present the letter that they did. That's also one of the reasons why we don't have budget 2024. Don't leave my folio. These are the things that are ongoing now. This is also what led to the 2% not being paid to all the civil servants that was promised during the election. That's one of the things I said, please don't hold your breath for the end of January, because they cannot pay it. And the reason they cannot pay it is because it wasn't budgeted in 2023. So if you don't have budget 2024, then the only legal thing you have is budget 2023. So you'll go back and use that budget. So the approved budget 2023, not the pre-approved amended budget 2023. And in that 2023 budget, there was no 2% increase. So they couldn't pay it because it would have been illegal and considered fraud. So let nobody fool you. Because they're going to come out here with a long-winded last press briefing that they have, because they're demissionary, they can't do anything anymore anyway. You will realize that a lot of things were said that were just plain out lies, and they knew that. And that's why I started just now with empty promises and lies. You know, we have to be careful, because there are a lot of things that should have been done and weren't done. And those are political. I'm not going to get into them. I'm not going to waste my time going in there. There are going to be more Mondays that we can talk about those things, like the vendor market and all those other type of things. But, you know, I wonder, that 20 million that CFT says should have been there, 30 million. Why wasn't some of that used to pay the police or pay SFV, because we owe them a ton of money? You know, I don't know, APS, you know, I don't know. If money was made available to do those things out of the 20, 30 million, then I think CFT is crying on sour grapes. But I don't believe it was made available for that. It was made available for other things, politically affiliated things, and that's unfortunate. Now, I saw a lot of people, you know, I've been playing a game, in my opinion, when it comes to the cruise industry. And, you know, we all have a position on cruise industry. Some believe it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Others believe it was to the detriment of country Sint Maarten. A few things. It depends on which side of the fence you stand on, that you will support a statement. Has cruise industry helped Sint Maarten? Sure it did. Brought a lot of money into the coffers. There are a few things though, for example, that when there's a hurricane, you clean up Front Street, you clean up the beach, the cruise ship comes in the next day, people jump off, they go to the beach, they drink their pina coladas or their sodas or their beers or whatever. They get back on the ship and they're gone. Stay over tourists can't come because the roofs blow off the hotels. And GB ain't functioning, so you got a problem. The little fella on the beach, he got a little generator there, he run there for a few hours and he making the pina coladas and the people are enjoying it. It has the good and the bad. But the pressure that cruise tourism puts on your infrastructure is what we have to look at. Can we handle so many cars on the road? Are we willing to give up free movement of people and goods on the roads for $1? So while the airport, as the port, keep every cent they collect on taxes, the government sees not one penny. While the government pays for all of the infrastructure, all taxes collected at the airport and at the harbor have been allowed to stay with those entities by the government. They didn't just do this on their own, by the government to take care of their loans. The question is, when does this loan come to an end? Because it seems as soon as one loan comes to an end, another one comes in, and then they use that same tax money again, so head tax, departure tax, whatever tax you want to call it, to suffice and pay that loan. And that's not the agreement we had in this country. And the government now, this government, I know the Now manifesto, we clearly put it there. Pay off the loan that you owed, that we agreed to, because after that the money is coming to Sint. And if you want another loan, make sure you are financially sustainable to do so. But you cannot, listen carefully, you cannot keeping the money. The airport, I'll give you a simple example. The airport has a what, $65 or $75 tax. Do the calculation. Let's say we got 400,000 people, and I know we are at 500 and something, but let's say some of them going between the islands, so Sabre Station, Aruba, Bonaire, Kyoto, I think those costs a little different. 400,000 times $75. I don't know if I doing it wrong, but that's 30 million US dollars. That is 54 million guilders. That is 11 to 12% of this country's budget that we allow to stay at the airport. Do the math, people. Understand what's happening in your country. So when we talk and we say this is ludicrousy, that people understand it. Because that's what it is. That's the departure tax that the airport collects on 400,000. And they have 539 stay over tourists. 539 stayed over tourists in 2023. Yet, not $1 is turned over to the country, St. Maarten. And we do as if that's normal. It's not. It is not normal. And the airport got a loan for $50 million from the trust fund. That is a loan from country St. Maarten also. So they owe that money too. Now, nothing against the airport. Nothing against the management. But I do have a problem with how we financially deal with this matter. Because the country continues to suffer while the airport gets a free ride into the sunset. 200 plus jobs versus 45,000 inhabitants. Because I don't know if we have 50,000 or 60,000 anymore. I have no clue. Because when I listen to what the Prime Minister said, it was 57,000 something registered. When I listen to statistics and I look at the NRPB and the World Bank, we have 40,000 people. So which one is it, people? We got 17,000 people floating someplace and nobody knows nothing. Welcome to St. Maarten. But again, you must understand that when you talk about Philipsburg as your capital, and you look at the state of the capital when it comes to cruise friendliness. I've cruised a lot in my life. I am tired also when I reach most of the port of calls in the Caribbean, that is jewelry, alcohol, cigarettes. When you go there as a tourist the first time, great. Second time, all right, still. Third time, getting tired. Fourth time, I ain't even going. So you notice cruise ships are building bigger ships. There's a reason for that. They're going to try to keep their people on board. Sure, they're going to come to St. Maarten, 20% and get off, instead of the 80. So you got a bigger ship. You get a much less volume coming off. And all that volume that comes off, those tours were bought on board. You give the tour operators and the transport people an X amount, and that's it. That money, sorry about that. That money remains in Miami. Doesn't come down here. It's not taxed there. Now, our tax law is very clear. Any monies derived from activities and assets on the island must pay tax. We charge foreigners that have homes in St. Maarten. We charge them tax. Well, they should be charged tax. Why is it that the cruise operations, and I know some people can go ballistic when I say this, why isn't that checked? Why isn't it checked that if you are spending hundreds of millions in cruise, because the problem is this, the cruise is operated in St. Maarten. The onlyest one that pays is the operator. So I'll give you an example. I sell an island tour for $100. The operator gets $30. So on the $30, taxes paid. On the other $70, nothing less profit for the cruise line. These are things you have to look at. Same with the casinos. Why don't we allow them to open the casinos on board? Oh, the law. Which law? Which law would give us more money if the casino was open? We are not taxing them anyway. I just showed you what happens with tours. Money. Casino opens, ship will stay longer. Because that's a place where big money is turned over in the ships. Photography, tours, and casinos. That's where they make their money. So, allow them to open their casinos and they'll stay in port till 12. Because to go to Sint takes them an hour and a half, 2 hours max. So they drift in international waters just to hang around. Now, this is what we got to look at. You want to ensure that you have 6 ships in port and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Philipsburg is not a ghost town. You're going to have to change Philipsburg. You have to change the appeal. You have to start getting cultural, historical, environmental, because that's what the new tourist is looking for. They're not looking for liquor, jewelry, diamonds. They're tired of it. They're really, really tired of it. So as long as we don't change the setup of Philipsburg and make sure that there are new niches and other things that are done now differently than the other islands, we ain't going no place. We can complain as much as we want, but we ain't going no place, because you got to remember, people come here. You know, I stated it before and I'll state it again. Tourists come here and they got police cars all over the place in the middle of town by the courthouse. Why isn't that your national museum? There's absolutely no interest in building Philipsburg into a tourism haven. Nobody really cares about it. We talk about it, but we don't really care. Because if we did care, the vendors market would have been built already. The courthouse would have been moved out of there and put elsewhere a long time ago. But again, like I said, we don't. Entertainment. We talk about the orange economy. But do you see entertainers in town paid for by the government and the business association? No, you don't. 6 o'clock, every screen is down. Town is a black dot on the island. Street lights don't work. Security is there during the day. 50 security, 20 dogs. What kind of image do you think you are creating for the cruise tourism? And then you wonder why they don't come? Why would they come? The streets are hobbly, everything. I mean, listen, I can't blame this government for everything. But this government really didn't do a damn thing to get it better. So when they say how they were stable for 4 years, yeah, they were stable for 4 years, but they didn't do nothing. That's the problem. And then to go and put a bunch of ugly concrete benches. Man, listen. When they upgraded Philipsburg, I was in public works. And I can recall we went to the various businesses and we said, we would like you to sponsor chairs. And steel chairs were bought with a thick rubber over it, and the logos of the businesses were there. So all the businesses, oh, they're putting red cones and all that stupidness, buy those type of chairs in collaboration with government and put them to prevent cars parking there, and at least the tourists can have a seat. And that way, you make town a little more user-friendly. Public restrooms for tourists. There's one in the middle of town. So if somebody's down Sea Palisade, they're going to have to pee their pants because they ain't going to find a toilet until they reach up to the center of town. You need to put a few of those. Look, these are just things that can be done. If we really want to make a difference. If we really want to make a difference. But again, when you go down on Front Street, when you go down on Mullet Bay, the beaches are completely overcrowded. with parasols and beach chairs. Those things sometimes turn away the tourists. And I understand everybody must be able to make a living. But we can't keep bringing in people and keep giving people permits because they got to make a living. We just gave out 150 bus licenses and taxi licenses on an oversaturated market. You really believe we are enhancing their lives? Oh, most probably enhance somebody's pocket. But we are not enhancing the taxis and bus drivers' lives. Let us not fool ourselves with that. You know, maybe it's time that we create a team for St. Maarten, a team for Philipsburg, and the tourism authorities, Dutch and French. We used to have one island, one people, one destiny. Well, that's not the case anymore. They're man fighting for your own slice of the pie. And I understand that. Cruise ships are now calling in Galles Bay, in Marigot. And that's normal, that's to be expected. Bigger aircrafts, 42-seaters, 50-seaters, are landing at Esperance. To be expected. Every country wants to evolve and move forward. But it doesn't mean that we can't do it together. The French Commune bought Air Antilles to get into the airline business. What are we doing? We got Winair there, but nobody helps Winair. Nobody helps them. So again, you know, when it comes to that, I don't know. I think we need to start thinking out of the box. Some of the ideas, we had them before. Create a parking, get a trolley, have a trolley work with the taxi associations. Because I think they got taxi associations for Walter Plants, they got one over the head of town, they got one here with the courthouse, I think they got 3 taxi associations handling 3 spots. Then you got the airport, then you got Maho, then you got the harbor. We got 6 or 7 taxi associations on this island. Why? Why can't we have one taxi association and a rotation? This month you work harbor, next month you work Maho, the month after that you work airport, then you work Walter Plants, then you work with the square. Why can't we do it that way? So that everybody gets a fair chance for the high season, for the low season, everybody can make a living. That would have helped instead of saying I have a group of 200 at the airport, a group of 200 at the harbor, and nobody else can come in there. That's unfortunate. Again, I'm not going to tell them what to do. They will realize in time that it ain't going to work the way they got it. And eventually, something will give. And that's not what we want. But again, maybe get a trolley, run it around. It can be for free. You want to enhance a car-free Philipsburg, you need transportation for the employees and for the vendors and for the tourists. So if I go into shop in town, then if I park here by the government building on that parking lot, if I park on the ring road, there must be a trolley that will take me into town and make a loop front street, back street. So you're going to need 3 to 4 of these trolleys that every 5 to 10 minutes they move in. If that's what you want to do, then it can work. But we must want to, because I know there were plans in the past to do this, and it never really materialized to become something. Let me then go over to something that is reasonably close to my heart. The Lewis Brown dismissal. I was truly angered. I don't get mad easily. Honestly, I don't get mad easily. I speak loud, and they say I intimidate people, and I bawl out. I'm a little deaf on one side, so I speak hard. I used to work in GB and the engines. Might I help with that too? So understand when I tell you that things happen in your country that you can only stand in awe. Yes, the Lewis Brown case is an ongoing case. He was dismissed for breach of trust or misconduct, whatever you want to call it. Because every time there's a new story to the lie. Lewis went to courts and eventually, in appeal, won his case. And the judges said, listen, We do believe that the minister told Lewis it's okay, or that Lewis told the minister what he was doing and he did not object. They feel that that's what the 14-minute phone call was all about. And Lewis was to be put back to work because the punishment of dismissal was way too high and absurd. Instead of the government putting Lewis Brown back to work, they started a new dismissal. This time, the dismissal isn't about what he did. The dismissal was that the minister and Lewis Brown can't work together. Okay. Had the National Alliance won the elections in 2024, and then they were going back in, I could have understood the reasoning. But they lost. There was and there is today the 2x4 government, the 4 parties, each with 2 seats. The informateurs report clearly stated there's no other possibility than the 2x4. Then tell me why in God's name would the minister and our governor sign a national decree to dismiss Lewis Brown on January 22nd? And the only reason in that dismissal is because the minister and Lewis Brown can't work together. Now, if you're going to tell me that this is good governance, then the Dutch better come down here, take that little boy they put there, and go with him. Because this is the hype of BS. And if you believe that I am afraid to call you out, you got a problem. Because I'm going to call you out. I am very friendly. Consider this a friendly shot in front of your bow. I'm not threatening you. I am promising you that I will make it my job to expose this craziness. This is way, 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 way overboard. You're destroying a professional because you got a hat on for him. This is crazy. And that the governor plays along in this game, that shows the political rhetoric to it. And I'll give you a reason why I say this. In 2017, December, waste to energy was approved by the Council of Ministers. And there was an election. And the sitting government, the NA government, did not win. And the Leona Marlin government was to come in. So the then governor said, you know what? We ain't passing this decree right now because it has implications for the country. Firing Lewis Brown has implications for this country. Some people may say, oh, good for him. Oh, he this, oh, he that. Lewis Brown has dedicated close to 30 years to the government of this country. Not one, listen carefully, not one write-up. I had write-ups, but he never had. And you're going to dismiss him because you can't work with him? Who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? A pissy-ass 31-year-old boy. Going to destroy a man because you don't like him? This is crazy. But this is to show you. This is to show you how vindictive and nasty the minister and the governor are. Because both of them are in cahoots. Both of them are in cahoots. And both should be investigated also. The governor should be reported to Holland, in my opinion. He should be reported for his political tenting. Going too far with him. Same stupidness with the informateurs. Know your place. They always say, know your place in the game. You might get a beam that you can't handle. It is crazy. But integrity is one word I don't want to hear the governor open his mouth with when he goes into parliament. I go in there to sit down. I want to hear him use the word integrity. I might just have something to tell him in there. So now tell me I can't come. Because that's what they're going to tell me now. I said this, I can't go. But I'll tell it to you wherever I see you in your face. You have no integrity. I am sorry, but you have passed and crossed a line that could never be crossed by a governor. So what you want about Holiday? He'll never do this. He'll never do this. This is crazy. This matter should have remained for the incoming government, not the outgoing government. And don't tell me yet it was an ongoing matter. It had no validity anymore. The minister was gone. And that was the only reason you all were firing Brown. You see, that's what bothers me. And then, that is not all, you know. They go back to 2021 June so they don't have to pay him. Because since June 2021, Louis Brown hasn't been paid a red cent. You see, this is the problem. These are the problems that I have an issue with. I'm going to leave it to there for now, because I know things that are going through my mind sometimes shouldn't go through my mind. But, you know, like I said, I hope when the new minister comes, that he pulls in the LB and retracts it from government. Government does not support the LB. And that's the governor's problem. He could figure it out. They should put Louis Brown to work. But his first task is to investigate what the hell went down the last 2 years when he wasn't there. And I am sure, a lot of skeletons gonna be dug up. People have to understand that when you go at people this way, they're gonna come back at you. They're gonna come back at you. This is crazy. There was no call for this. Absolutely no call. And Louis can defend himself good enough. So I don't fear that. But the public of St. Maarten needs to know what's happening. And I am someone, this is what my talk show is about. I'm going to expose what's happening. You know the saying, what's in the dark will come to light? Well, a lot more will come to light as time goes on. I think Louis Brown was a threat to this government, and his ability speaks for itself. So I hope when the new minister sits, that he looks at that LB and looks at the court case that Louis Brown won and has the LB retracted and put Louis back in his position that he belongs, the SG of Rumi. I was pleasantly and happy to read that in the YVO, so the justice meetings they had in Curacao, all the justice ministers came together and they agreed that for complex cases, there will be a 3-judge court of first instance. Normally, it's once your sentence is above a year, and the cases become complex. Instead of having 1 judge there, they'll have 3 judges. And that it's already the case in Holland, so it will become the case in Curacao, Aruba, St. Maarten, and in the Best Islands, so that you'll have a 3-judge panel if it's a complicated case. And you know, all the TBO cases are always complicated cases because the incompetent locals couldn't do it, so they had to bring in those smart boys and girls to come and make up things and make sure that when it reaches to the courts, the hanged judge would do what he has to do. So now they're going to have 3 of them line up to do this. Don't think that going to work anymore. I think the TBO judges don't exist on paper, have never existed on paper, yet were used. I think now some of them have even taken up seating in Curacao, I understood, to be part of the Hof over there. But nevertheless, I ain't going to discuss them today. Today is not their day. But what is important is the cost, because it's going to cost some extra money, because you're going to need at least 2 extra judges to sit beside the present judge. So those cases now will have 3 judges instead of 1 judge, and the cost is going to be the factor. How can it be paid for, and what will it cost each country to pay for such? So let's see what comes out of it. But I think what is important, when I read the article in the Daily Sensation, was the ultimate goal, as they themselves state, is to create a more efficient and fairer legal system, better equipped to tackle complex legal challenges. Now, I'm happy that at least it's going to be more efficient, so it's not going to take years, and it's going to be fairer. You're going to have that there's a preconceived notion that you're guilty, and when you come in there, you're just sitting out there killing time, because at the end of the day, the verdict was already written before you walked into courts. So let's hope that it's going to be a little different now. I always say I believe in justice. I just don't believe in the manipulation of justice, like what happens now too often. But okay, let's leave it to that. I enjoyed reading the piece where this consensus shows that and here it comes, that there's flexibility within the kingdom how we can deviate from existing Dutch regulations to suit our needs, not theirs. Because this was the centerpiece that the ministers from the Castle Islands wanted to showcase, that there is flexibility. So how does that merge, for example, now with the draft criminal procedure that they were trying to force down the throats of the Castle Islands? Because up until this day, the one in St. Maarten and Curaçao ain't passed. Aruba approved. St. Maarten and Curaçao, St. Maarten made huge changes, significant changes. Deafening silence, nothing, nobody saying nothing. So let's see where that flexibility lies there, because it needs to suit our needs, not theirs. So let's see. Just, I want to see. But look, at the end of all of this, it boils down, can we afford to pay for proper justice, fairer justice? Or do we proceed with what we got presently and stick to our colonial masters' method to maintain full control of the islands? It's all in who has money and who doesn't have money. I think they like to call it class justice. TLM and its restructuring. I'm trying really hard to understand the need to send home 58% of the staff due to restructuring of TLM by April 1st, 2024, because of developments and financial situations of TLM, and the government is so silent. Not a peep, not a peep. As shareholders, for the past 2-3 years, they are well aware of what's going on. The failure of the fiber to the home, the mayor case, the chairman of the board is sent home, who filed a whole load of objections to the management manner of TLM. The SYB report that put a dagger in their hearts. Yet, the shareholder is mute. Why is that? Thank God the union has gone to the mediator. I saw them there myself. I was at a government building when I saw them walking to meet with the mediator on this issue. It is ridiculous. There's no other word for it. It's ridiculous that you're going to restructure 58% of the company, but not the management. One member of management is leaving the island. He had enough. He gone. So you're restructuring. That's not restructuring. Because if he wasn't going, what would happen? You see, this is the problem. We need to understand what's really happening in TLM. And this is not a public secret. And this ain't nothing but a closed door meeting. This is the people's money. This is government's company. And it is all these arm's length nonsenses that create this stupidity. Because we speak of corporate governance and corporate this and corporate that. But the companies and their boards are corporate disasters. And they do as they feel. And anytime something going down, arm's length. Think on the airport. Think on Michael Hyman. Think on Dexter Doncher. Think on GB. Senom Chitik, and then we had a whole charade for years. And today we're looking to hire again. And who you think will win it? If it is done fairly, Jerome Chitik will win it. Because he was the one that won it last time. But he didn't get there because the team that was put there to do it manipulated it. And what did SOB said? GB's biggest problem is the manipulation of the management board and the supervisory board by the politicians. You see? Let's not pretend, okay? Those days are over. We need to understand that what's happening in TLM ain't gonna happen just like that. You cannot just put 52 families out of business. Then send home the management and put a change manager there and let them fix what needs to be fixed. But you can't just do what you're doing here. And I hope that the incoming government pays close attention to this, because this is going to hurt all of us. Carnival 2024 and the shows outside of the village. Now, I like Carnival. I don't like all the shows that we have nowadays because it's more music festival than a Carnival. But hey, times have changed. People have different desires. The Calypso show used to be one of the biggest things. It is not anymore. Juve used to be a great thing because it was for free, and that is still so. But a lot of promoters last year, remember in Parliament, they had this whole thing about putting Carnival out for bid. I can remember that? When they were handling budget 2023. Now the amended one, 23. And they were going to put Carnival out for bid and all kind of nonsense. They were going to bid Carnival last year. That didn't happen. Pressure come, pressure pot bust, everybody back off. So they had a new plan. Plan where I understood ministers and parliamentarians were involved. They're going to keep everything outside the village. And they can get permit from that. For that, from the Minister of Justice. And the Minister of Theatre, most probably, to do this. Crap a smoky pipe. So all of them, none of them took the night in the village. A lot of big promoters that have nights in there every year did not take the night. Consequently, the police gave a negative advice for the ring road jams for the 28th, 29th, 30th, and the 29th, 31st. It's 3 nights. They gave a negative advice. So now you're going to see them trying everything in their powers to still get that permit. And I hope those in authority that are going to sign off any type of permit, beware that if that permit is pulled in and the country is held accountable, is your backside going to be held accountable, because the advice of the police is negative. The safety of the country cannot be guaranteed. So for a few silver coins, don't do stupidness. The Festival Village is the place to have those shows during the Carnival season. It was always so that we try. I can recall I was in Public Works and we had these debates. Other people want to keep shows during the Carnival season because there are a lot of tourists here, so they want to make use of it. Now, like how I understood Hitmakers, for example, is going to be in alleys. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a convention center that does these things, has a license to do these things. So if he wants to keep Hitmakers in there that night, God bless him. But you can't go out on public domain places. Go and rent a place. You all want to keep a show, go rent a place. Go and rent a place that has a license to do this. But don't piggyback off the island this way. You all had your nights. You don't want to work in the Carnival Village. You want to do it outside. I don't understand why this is going on so. Because, you know, shows they ain't gonna go to the front side because they can't pull the stunts they're doing on this side over there. That's why they used to move festivals from the French side to the Dutch side, because we are so lax with our way of doing things. I believe everybody has a right to do a show. There's no issue with it. If they want to go on the French side and keep the festivals now in April, do that. Then do that. Go to the French side. Take it Anguilla. Take it Sable Station. Go. I don't think that's the issue. They ain't going no place. They need big locations like the Ring Road to do their stuff. And I'm saying, do it in July. Summerfest. We used to have it. It went wrong, but we used to have it. Maybe the promoters that want to do it now, that want to do these shows now, should do that. Have a Summerfest festival. And let government work along where locations can be used. More than one location, I would say. So, you know, this is what it is. I am not protecting the Maarten Carnival Development Foundation. I think they can do that for themselves. But I can feel the president. I can feel Mr. Rajuki's concerns. And what I found a pity is that you're going to look for the height of the carnival, the Juve, into the international shows to do this. And I'm saying, come on, man. 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after carnival, there shouldn't be these lead up and post shows, you know. We gotta be careful. Because the one product we have still that brings tourists in the off season is carnival. And now we want to dagger that. And I'm saying we gotta be careful. So, not because the tendering of carnival didn't happen, we have to come with plan B. I think the government has to say, none of this nonsense is going to happen. We're not granting any permits 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after for international shows on the island. Because they're all international shows, they're not local shows. For the local DJ maybe, a local band, but everything from abroad, all the headliners are international artists. And that shouldn't happen. Dengue and St. Maarten. I want to believe I reached to the one before last. Dengue. There's a lot of dengue on the French side, and on the Dutch side it's increasing. And I hope the government can look into fogging or some sort of awareness and prevention methods for dengue. Because dengue really picking up now, and we gotta be careful. Because, you know, the last thing you want is that St. Maarten is tagged as a flight risk right now because of dengue. You know, when it takes off, when dengue becomes a big problem and it becomes newsworthy, the countries also flag it. Just like how COVID used to go, they'll flag St. Maarten for dengue. Just giving a heads up, let us not wait until this happens and we are put on a watch list. Come with something and let's see what we can do. All right, people. I think I have reached to the last thing on my show today. From informateur to formateur. The informateur's report was handed in and it has reached the public domain already. And also this morning I saw on the newspaper, Marcelina appointed formateur, informateur's complete assignment. And I read the informateur's report. First of all, let me make a blanket statement. I have a lot of respect for Dr. Nilda Arduin and for Dr. Ramdes Kandia Joseph. I think both of them are well-versed, well-qualified to write an informateur's report. But I do believe that this informateur's report was put on the wrong footing by the governor with the instructions that he basically gave. Let me start off by saying that this is the 11th government formation. And it's only the third time, including this one here, that an informateur has been used. In 2020, there was no informateur. In 2018, there was one, and in 2014, there was one. In 2010, when we became country, there was no informateur. Why do I say these things? Because an informateur is brought in after an election if there is no government. So we're going to have to start talking to see what can become a government. That's what the informateur is really about. Gather information among the political parties to see, can we find working relationships? Can we find teams that they can do, like what's happening in Holland? There's an informateur. There have been 2 informateurs there already, where the parties that want to work with each other or can work with each other need to find common grounds. And that's what the informateurs try to do. And when they find the common grounds, they report such, and then you get a formateur. Now, by us, the informateurs were told a few strange things. I think the one strangest was the opinion, to seek the opinion of the stakeholders in this country on basically how to strengthen the position of the coalition. Now, when you hear that, you say, well, where are you going with this? But when you see the questions, when they ask you which political parties you believe should be in government, that is not seeking information. That is guiding the process to a desired result. Then why do we talk about democratically held elections? Then why do we do that? Then we should also, the next time we're going to appoint a governor, have a stakeholders meeting and see who we're going to put there. Or when we're going to appoint a judge, let's have a stakeholders meeting and ask their opinion on who we should put there. Should he be Asian? Should he be white? Should he be black? Should he speak English? Should he speak Papiamento? Where do we go with this nonsense? You see, we got to be very, very, very careful with this stupidity. We had an election. All those stakeholders voted. All of them. Or they had the opportunity to vote. And maybe they didn't even make use of it. From the 45 stakeholders, 15 answered. 2/3 didn't even worry with it. And in the 15 that answered, 4 said, I cannot answer these political questions. And then you ask yourself when you read this, why would you do this? Why would you even go down there? Another one of the assignments was to see if the 2x4 new coalition can stand its ground. See if it can work, look into it, which they did, and it turned out to be the onlyest one that was possible. Something I found strange in the report was that the report alluded to another possible coalition partner. Well, me having spoken personally to one of those parties knew that that was not the position of the party. I'm not going to get into the detail which party it was, because that's not relevant right now. The fact that in the report, it alluded that that party didn't really have an issue to work with one of them is misleading. Look, again, like I said, a lot of respect for everybody. But we gotta be careful when we start to put things on paper that are not in a direct line of what has to happen. Like I said, the informateur report was written based on guidance that was given or instructions that were placed in the assignment. That's how I see it. Because the letter that was sent to the parties, the 6 parties, also had a questionnaire. And the questionnaire had X amount of questions. And when you read the informateurs report, they said they looked at all of the manifestos, and then they also made a table of what was covered in the manifestos on topics. Okay? So if you have that, why are you sending questions to be answered by a party when in their manifesto they are telling you what they're doing? And as limited as the answers might have been in the manifesto, the clarification I would have understood, but not the question. Because you had the answers. They were in the manifestos. You could have seen which parties could have worked with each other easily. And you could have seen if the 4 parties that said they want to form a new coalition could have worked together. And you could have seen in the manifestos where the breaking point could be. Not will be, but could be. Because in every governing accord, there will be compromises. In everyone. So, I didn't really understand where we were going with that. It is nice to make up all these tables and put X's and pluses and check and minuses. Again, the bottom line was for the informateurs to see which parties can work with each other. And since it was one, it should have been within a day, clear to the governor, this is it. You didn't need to write a 40-page report. It's nice. It shows your abilities. And like I said before I started, you are both capable people. You're very capable. But I think the exercise was futile because everybody knew before the exercise started that it was only a matter of trying to buy time, because I found it interesting in the report that there was a blanket statement. They are still individual MPs talking to political parties, creating the impression that maybe 1 or 2 of the coalition of the 4x2 or the 2x4, however you want to call it, was having discussions with other political parties. These are the little sliders that we got to be careful with. And I don't know what it is, but like we say, where there's smoke, there's mostly fire. So you want to create a trend of thought that this might be the situation when it's not the situation. Saturday now will be the swearing in of the 15 parliamentarians. The coalition of 8 is then formal. Dr. Luc Mercelina has been appointed the formateur. I hope that within 2 weeks, all ministers have been screened and cleared so we can govern. Because at this point in time, we have a lame duck government. They cannot make any decisions for any matters that arise now. As urgent as they may be, they have no authority to do so. The law says that, not Bancampa. So I hope that we can have our ministers appointed as soon as we can go. Again, let me close with this. The formateur has been appointed. Hopefully, within 2 weeks, the ministers will take their oath of office and this country will have a new government without all the hoopla that some of them hope to encounter within the next 2 weeks. Please share my podcast, and also like and subscribe to my YouTube page. Bounces out. See you all next week when I will address the banking charges that have been placed on Facebook. I will be talking a little bit also about the role of the border control that we have with the Netherlands and a few other topics that are trending now once again. So take care, enjoy your Monday, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.